Photosynthesis converts solar energy into the chemical energy of carbohydrate. Photosynthetic organisms, including land plants, algae, and cyanobacteria, are called autotrophs because they produce their own food. Photosynthesis produces an enormous amount of carbohydrate, so much that if we are instantly converted to coal and the coal were loaded into standard railroad cars, each car holding about 50 tons, the photosynthesizers of the biosphere would fill more than 100 cars per second with coal. No wonder photosynthetic organisms are able to sustain themselves and all other living things on Earth. With few exceptions, it is possible to trace any food chain back to plants and algae. In other words, producers which have the ability to synthesize carbohydrates feed not only themselves but also consumers, which must take and perform organic molecules. Collectively, consumers are called heterotrophs. Both autotrophs and heterotrophs are organic molecules produced by photosynthesis as a source of building blocks for growth, repair, and a source of chemical energy for cellular work. Photosynthesizers also produce copious amounts of oxygen as a byproduct. Oxygen, which is required by organisms when they carry on cellular respiration, rises high into the atmosphere where it forms an ozone shield that filters out ultraviolet radiation and makes terrestrial life possible. Our analogy that photosynthetic products becoming coal is apt because the bodies of many ancient plants did become the coal we burn today, usually produce electricity. Coal formation happened several hundred million years ago, and that is why coal is called a fossil fuel. Today's trees are also commonly used as fuel. Then, too, the fermentation of plant materials produces ethanol, which can be used directly to fuel automobiles or as gasoline additive. The products of photosynthesis are critical to humankind in a number of other ways. They serve as a source of building materials, fabrics, paper, and pharmaceuticals, and while we are thanking green plants for their services, let's not forget the simple beauty of a magnolia blossom or the majesty of Earth's forests. Figure 7.1 shows examples of photosynthetic organisms and how they surround our life daily. Photosynthesis takes place in the green portions of plants. The leaves of a flowering plant contain mesophyll tissue in which cells are specialized for photosynthesis. The raw materials for photosynthesis are water and carbon dioxide. The roots of a plant absorb water, which then moves in vascular tissue up to the stem to a leaf by way of leaf veins. Carbon dioxide in the air enters a leaf through small openings called stomata. After entering a leaf, carbon dioxide and water diffuse into chloroplasts, the organelles that carry on photosynthesis. A double membrane surrounds the chloroplast and its semi-fluid interior called the stroma. A different membrane system within the stroma forms flattened sacs called thylakoids, which in some places are stacked to form grana, so called because they look like piles of seeds to early microscopists. The space of each thylakoid is thought to be connected to the space of every other thylakoid within chloroplast, thereby forming an inner compartment within chloroplast called the thylakoid space. This is the thylakoid space. Thylakoid membrane contains chlorophyll and other pigments that are capable of absorbing solar energy, the type of energy that drives photosynthesis. The stroma contains an enzyme-rich solution where carbon dioxide is first attached to an organic compound and is then reduced to a carbohydrate. Therefore, it is proper to associate the absorption of solar energy with the thylakoid membranes making up the grana, and to associate the reduction of carbon dioxide to carbohydrate with the stroma of chloroplast. Human beings and indeed nearby all organisms release carbon dioxide into the air. This is the same carbon dioxide enters the leaf through the stoma and is converted to carbohydrate. Carbohydrate in the form of glucose is the chief source of chemical energy for most organisms. So when we talk, we exert carbon dioxide, and basically when we talk, we are feeding plants. Three major groups of photosynthetic organisms are flowers, trees, and mosses, also microorganisms that we can't see, but they are there, and they are taking in the carbon dioxide and using these mechanisms that are inside of their leaves to absorb our carbon dioxide and make carbohydrates for their energy. Chlorophyll in the leaves is what absorbs solar energy to create the process of photosynthesis. Chlorophyll also makes the leaves green. The stroma pictured here is what creates the carbohydrates within photosynthesis. The section we read about was about photosynthetic organisms and how they use photosynthesis to create their own energy.
Human beings, nearly all organisms release carbon dioxide into the air.
And through photosynthesis, the plants take in the carbon dioxide and produce their own energy and food for themselves and put out oxygen for us. Some of the photosynthetic organisms are like the trees and flowers, and also microorganisms such as cyanobacteria.
Yay! That's our summary. Hope to see you guys later. Like and subscribe, you know, to our channel. Class channel.
Also, the chloroplast is located in the leaves, and that's where the solar energy goes into. That's all we have, really. It was only 2 pages.
Yeah.
Just bang.
Bloopers.
Mr. Tyler, we love you. Okay.